Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for our 5 steps to a successful day of giving. Now, running a dedicated day of giving is a terrific way to create visibility for your cause, rally your team and supporters, and raise necessary funds for your organization. Today, we're going to delve into why a dedicated day of giving can often be more effective than national or global giving days. And then we'll discuss the essential actions needed so that your campaign stands out and helps you raise more. We'll also hear from our nonprofit guest on the strategies that they use to create and run their own successful day of giving campaign for the first time. Now, before we get started, please know we welcome your participation and are here to answer your questions. So be sure to submit your questions into the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel. We have fundraising experts standing by behind the scenes to answer questions during the webinar, and at the end, when we will hold an open Q&A session with our presenters for additional questions. We hope you gained some great insight from today's presentation, and as a quick reminder, we'll be sending out the recording and slides to all the registrants afterwards. All right. Now, today's webinar is presented by MobileCause, and MobileCause understands the everyday challenges that nonprofits face, constantly confronted with limited resources, yet still expected to expand your impact. You shouldn't have to face these challenges alone, and that's why MobileCause offers more than comprehensive online fundraising software for virtual and in-person events. We also provide one-on-one strategy from dedicated fundraising specialists and have the industry's best support team ready to provide assistance 24/7. So it's there when you need it most. At MobileCause, we're just as committed to your cause as you are, and together we can grow your nonprofit like never before. All right, so let me introduce you to today's amazing presenters. So first, Kim Johnson is the President and Director of Institutional Advancement of the Catholic Schools of Broome County Foundation, where she helps improve the elementary, middle, and high schools she also attended. For 15 years, she worked with SUNY Brockport, where she got both her bachelor's and master's degree. Her work spanned across alumni relations, development, special events, the school's scholarship program, and eventually overseeing donor relations. She now lives in Greene, New York with her husband and their dog Bailey while awaiting the arrival of their new grandson, Jason. Lindsay Himple is a digital fundraising strategist with MobileCause, where she works one-on-one with nonprofits to maximize their fundraising campaign success. She creates and sets up campaigns, provides fundraising and donor engagement strategies, and creates supportive communication and promotional tools. Lindsay's work has enabled hundreds of MobileCause customers to successfully accelerate and increase their fundraising and engagement efforts. Now, I'm Scott Couchman. I'm the training manager here at MobileCause, and our agenda today is full of expert strategies and easy to use takeaways for setting up and running your own day of giving campaign. First, we'll hear from Lindsay Himple on why a standalone day of giving can make a difference for your cause, plus the 5 steps needed for a successful giving day. And then Kim will share her experience and in planning and promoting and executing their unique day of giving, which helped her nonprofit raise over $65,000 in just 24 hours. All right, now, before we begin discussing the 5 steps to a successful day of giving, we do have a quick poll question for everyone. And that question is, are you planning a dedicated day of giving for 2021? So let me go ahead and open up this poll here. All right, should be launching here for you. And so just in case it's taking a little time, I'll go ahead and read these off here. First off, yes, you are, and you're feeling super confident about it. Next one is yes, and I need some more ideas. Yes, but it's totally new to us. No, but we're curious to learn more. No, not sure if it's right for us. So let's see how those are going here. All right, getting some good response. Let's see. All right, still getting some responses coming in, so good. All right, looks like it is slowing down. So let me go ahead and close that poll. And let's take a look at those results. So this is kind of interesting to see. Really interesting. Where everyone is up to in their day of giving plans for 2021. Now, whatever those plans may be, today's webinar will provide some useful strategies that you can use now or in the future. So, all right, let's dive in. So, back over here. So join me in welcoming Lindsay Hempel to start us off by talking about why your nonprofit needs its own day of giving and the 5 steps to ensure its success. Let me give you control, Lindsay. There we go. You should have it now, and over to you.
Thanks, Scott, and hello, everyone. Thanks again for joining with us today. From the poll, it's nice to see that most of you are already planning a day of giving, and some are still looking to learn a little bit more. But I think that with today's presentation, we'll have a little bit for everyone. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. First off, for those of you listening who may be new to using a dedicated day of giving, let's talk for a moment about what they are and how incredibly useful they can be as a fundraising tool for your nonprofit. So a day of giving is a powerful 24-hour fundraising campaign. Now, some organizations elect to have a week of giving too, so it doesn't always need to be limited to just one day. But ultimately, the goal of a day of giving is aimed at increasing awareness, maximizing visibility for your organization, connecting with and bringing in new donors, and raising funds for your mission. The idea behind a day of giving is that you're really celebrating your organization with your own day and bringing as much attention to your organization's mission and impact by gathering ambassadors and sharing out information on how people can support. Now, it's really good for your organization to consider your own unique day of giving in addition to any global or national days of giving you may already be participating in, like Giving Tuesday or Local Giving Day. Having your own dedicated day of giving helps your organization stand out. On global days of giving, like Giving Tuesday or like Giving Tuesday, your organization has so much competition as you're fundraising with literally thousands of other nonprofits. And it really becomes easy to get lost in the clutter of everything. While on your own dedicated day of giving, it's only about your organization. Less competition equals more opportunity, and your own day of giving creates awareness for your unique cause. It gives you the opportunity to rally both your team and your supporters for your organization, and helps to boost fundraising in a short period of time. And since you're not confined to any more general calls to action for a larger global day of giving, you can really become and make it more meaningful and specific to your cause that you're promoting. Now we've looked at reasons why, and now we can talk through the 5 steps on how to run a successful day of giving, starting with step 1. So selecting your date strategically. When you think about what date you would like to have your day of giving on, see if there are any dates that naturally stand out. For example, perhaps a Founders Day or an important anniversary for your organization. I've worked with customers that choose their organization's birthday or the day that they were founded. So you can also consider things like a national calendar day. So if you work with animals, maybe that's World Animal Day or just kind of generally National Hugging Day. Or if there's an awareness month that connects to your mission, you can consider doing something surrounding that month or the beginning or end of that month. Maybe it's a date with a fun or memorable number, so like 5/5 or 11/21/21. Or just something that works well with the planning of your calendar and your fiscal year. So, for example, maybe your fiscal year ends in June and you have a large fundraising goal before your fiscal year end. You can use your day of giving to help boost fundraising towards that larger goal. Another example is if you work in education, you may want to plan something with within the school year or towards the end of the school year before students and staff go on break. So things to consider there, just your general calendar. And generally, you don't have to think too hard on it, but consider any existing dates that stand out or just a general good time for fundraising for your nonprofit. Now, once you have your date established, the next step is to really begin strategizing your campaign early, around 4 to 6 months ahead of time. So set important dates in your campaign calendar to keep in mind as you're planning. These kind of milestones may include setting up your Day of Giving event page or web page, also developing a list of ambassadors or those involved with your organization who you think would be willing to share out your fundraising campaign. Also creating a day of action plan for your staff and volunteers with a list of things that need to be done and what they should be prepared for. Also use the time ahead of your campaign to find matching donor gifts. So matching donations are a great way to motivate your donors. And if you can secure matching donations ahead of time, you can use it to promote your Day of Giving and your fundraising campaign overall. So that gives you the opportunity to add language to your campaign to say things like double your impact on our Day of Giving, or your gift today will be doubled and make twice the impact for those that we serve. So it's really a great motivating factor for your donors if you're able to implement something like that. Finally, think about save the date communications. While there still may be time and work to do before your Day of Giving, planning to send out a save the date will allow people to know it's on their radars and really get them excited for the day of. Oops, skip too far ahead there. All right, thinking about a timeline, here's a sample timeline leading up to your Day of Giving. So in the 2 to 3 months before your Day of Giving time frame, this is where you'll want to set up your campaign. So that's where you'll want to set up any event pages or campaign pages that you'll need for your Day of Giving, as well as any giving forms or fundraiser sign-up forms, or maybe even volunteer forms. This is also the point in time where you'll be recruiting your fundraisers and volunteers. So really get them to commit to helping out for the day of and maybe even in the weeks prior, and give them an idea of what to expect and how they'll be helping. You can also use this time to create a promotional plan for sharing out your fundraiser. And another great idea is to start establishing a fundraiser toolkit. So we'll talk about this a little bit later too, but a fundraiser toolkit is a great way to provide resources for your peer-to-peer fundraisers or ambassadors who will be sharing out your campaign the day of to make it really easy for them. Now, within the 2 months before, this is the time to promote the campaign. So this is when you'll be sending out the save the dates and the invites, really starting to begin an automated email sequence with information about the Day of Giving, what people can expect, how they will be able to participate. You can start posting on social any graphics or videos that you have made or any other content, and begin sharing out your text to donate keyword and short code so people become familiar with it, and they can also begin texting in early if they need to. And in the week before your Day of Giving, this is really the time to remind your supporters what's going on and how to participate. So double check on all of your forms that everything is set up just as you need. Go live on social media platforms and include the links to your online fundraiser pages so individuals can start to participate. And as always, use a multi-channel approach and send text messages and emails to the event page as well, and just continuously give progress and updates to thank your donors. Now we've talked for step 3, this is where we would want to recruit and inspire ambassadors. So we've talked about this a little bit already, but peer-to-peer fundraisers can amplify your reach and help you attract new donors. So with peer-to-peer fundraising, your organization is able to empower your supporters and allow them to become fundraisers so that they can create their own fundraising pages and fundraise on your organization's behalf. So when recruiting, reach out and recruit fundraisers well in advance of your campaign, and this gives them enough time to get their pages set up and get them prepared for the day of. Another great thing you can do to help ensure the success of your campaign and the success of your fundraisers is to provide them with those Day of Giving toolkits that we referenced earlier. So most often peer-to-peer fundraisers are not professional fundraisers, although you might get some and we might wish for more, but the idea is that we want to make it as easy as possible for those peer-to-peer fundraisers to share out their pages. Creating a toolkit with sample content that they can easily copy and share is going to make it more likely for them to share. So content inside of your social media toolkit could include things like pre-written sample messages, images or graphics, suggested promotional methods and calendars, maybe even fundraising challenges or incentives for your fundraisers who sign up. Another example could be a cheat sheet on how they set up their fundraising page. So anything you can use to make your fundraisers life easier. You really want to use the toolkit to provide inspiration to your fundraisers and make it really, really, really easy for them to support your organization and share out. Now, once you've recruited your fundraisers and given them that inspiration with that toolkit, you'll want to continue inspiring them with regular communication. So just plan to make regular check-ins with your fundraisers to keep them inspired and let them know that your organization is there to help however they need. Maybe do little check-ins on how much has been raised and how far away you may be towards the goal. And when you're interacting with your peer-to-peer fundraisers, you'll want to remember to make it fun, but more importantly, make it as easy as possible. Some of the specific things that you can do to encourage your peer-to-peer fundraisers is to encourage them to personalize their fundraising pages and set and share individual goals. So through MobileCause, when they sign up their peer-to-peer fundraiser, it's a very easy process and they're able to customize their page with a personal message, a goal, and an image. By personalizing their pages, they're able to elaborate on the specifics on why they chose to fundraise and can set their own goals as well. And this part is extremely important because as they share out their pages to potentially new donors who have never heard of your organization before, they can hear directly from their own friend, family member, colleague, someone in their network, why that person chose to fundraise for your organization, which can compel the new donor to support as well. Another idea for fundraisers and ambassadors is to encourage them to live stream with compelling stories about your cause. So if they have those stories on why they're supporting, they should really be sharing those out if they can. So they can reach beyond just writing the story on their own fundraiser page and go directly to social media to share out that story through a live stream or even just a simple pre-recorded video. And as always, encourage them to share ways to give. So through MobileCause, each fundraiser will receive a link to their unique page, as well as a unique text to donate keyword that they can market out to their networks and encourage them to give. All right, for step 4, you'll want to increase your communications and your promotions for the day of giving. So you'll really want to message your audience more than you think is necessary. The reason behind this is not everyone will see every single message. So as you get closer to your actual day of giving, you'll want to continue to increase the frequency of your communications. Average organic reach for a Facebook post is about 5.2% of the page's total likes. And the average nonprofit email rate is between 20 to 30%. And just another statistic, due to social media algorithms, only about 7% of your posts will show up in your followers' feeds. So whatever you're sending out, people aren't seeing every single one of those messages. So whatever you're planning for already, plan more. Also remember that not every single post or communication needs to be a fundraising ask, but you should also be including important content like the impact of your overall campaign, who or what the funds ultimately go to help, updates on your fundraising progress, shout outs and thank yous to donors, information about matching programs or challenges or incentives. Because there's just so much information to share about on your day of giving, be sure to communicate that often and throughout the day so individuals know your progress and ultimately how they'll be able to participate. Some more ideas for pre-promotion before your day of giving. So get your whole team involved, encourage your whole staff, any volunteers, board members to get involved and be ready to share information about your day of giving. Highlight your programs and your beneficiaries. This really helps to continue to demonstrate your impact. So share any program highlights or testimonials or information about who you serve. Videos are also an incredible way to storytell. So share any fun, touching, or important video moments that you may have captured. You can also create a countdown to the day to create excitement and really build urgency around your day of giving and build excitement around that. And finally, promote any matching gifts early on. So individuals really know how their gifts may make more of an impact and may even decide to give early. You'll want to continue that promotion all the way up to your day of giving and continue to share and promote on the most important day. Throughout the day, be sure to share your mission, impact, and how gifts will be used. Showcase your progress circle or fundraising thermometer. A progress circle or fundraising thermometer is a great way to show in real time how your campaign is doing and help inspire more giving throughout the day. So if you are able to include that on your event page or your campaign page, share that where possible. Continue to provide real-time thank yous and metrics. You can tag donors and ambassadors in real time on social media to help spark additional conversation and sharing. I had one organization that I worked with that was posting very often on social media and remaining very active in the conversation about people, encouraging people to comment in their social media posts and having regular conversations so that they're really engaging their audience the day of through social media. So one way you can do that is by providing those real-time thank you and metrics and shouting out the different people who are supporting. Another idea is to share photos, videos, and live streams. Now, these could be from staff and volunteers or even supporters. You can potentially showcase a behind the scenes or a day in the life to help share the excitement about your day of giving. Live streams really go a great way also to boost your visibility through social media algorithms. So even as something simple as something as a selfie video of someone within your organization going live and showing behind the scenes or just having a call to action can go a long way to boosting your visibility across your social media platforms. Post frequently on social media and text message at least 3 times a day throughout your day of giving. Plan to send 2 to 3 emails as well. And like we mentioned earlier, whatever you may have already planned, plan to add even more communications to that. Don't be afraid to post too frequently and too often. This is your day of giving and it's about your organization and really getting the message out there. And finally, as our last step, be sure to have a meaningful follow-up after. So following up builds trust and shares gratitude for your donors. And it is especially important in a campaign like this where you may be capturing new donors. The word will be shared out amongst your audience and your ambassadors will hopefully be sharing it out to an even wider audience. So we have the opportunity to capture new donors in this process. And a meaningful thank you really gives you the opportunity to cultivate those new donors into hopefully a long-lasting supporter. It's important for all donors that they are sent a timely thank you and acknowledgement. So be sure to automate a thank you with a receipt to be sent within 48 hours of a donation received. And also plan to send a more personalized thank you to the donor afterward. Continue to share your results of your campaign widely so that everyone knows the impact that has been made. Another great way to celebrate your success is to post pictures of those impacted by fundraising. Pictures and videos really help to build that human connection to the campaign and leave donors with that feel-good feeling. So if you have any of that type of content, be sure to share that out as well. And also by explaining how the funds will be used, you are demonstrating to the donor the impact of their gift. And once those milestones have been hit, be sure to communicate that with them in the future to continue to build that trust. So continue with updates in the weeks and the months after that follow to really drive home the important impact that they made because of their support. With all these things in mind, having a dedicated day of giving is a great way to celebrate your organization by bringing together those who support you most, sharing your mission, and gathering existing and new supporters for your cause. So I hope that you all found some helpful ideas and tips as you are thinking about your upcoming days of giving. And with that, I'm going to pass things back over to Scott.
All right, thank you, Lindsay, for sharing such great insight into running a successful day of giving campaign with less effort. Now, as a quick reminder, if you have questions, you can submit them into the question box on your control panel as we go along. And now let's hear from Kim Johnson with Catholic Schools of Broome County and how they raised 12 times more than any previous National Giving Day with their own dedicated day of giving. Kim?
Thanks, Scott. And good afternoon, everybody. I'm very excited to be here. And I'm just going to walk through kind of how we prepared for our day of giving, what happened the day of, and some lessons that we learned for the future and how to build our next day of giving. And a little background about the Catholic Schools of Broome County. As you see here, this is our mission to foster the development of spiritually minded students who are academically successful and inspired to impact our world. We serve 4 diverse schools in our Broome County area. We've got 3 elementary schools that are pre-K through 6th grade and 1 junior senior high school that's 7th through 12th grade. The 4 schools are comprised of approximately 1,000 students, and just over 45% of our students receive financial aid. So our foundation and the schools work very hard to raise funds for tuition assistance, which basically fund those 45% of the students. So we decided that it was time to do a day of giving. We had done some national days of giving, and I had been here for just about 4 years. And I had done in my previous institution, I had been part of days of giving there, and really realized that it could help increase our engagement here. So we decided that it was time. And first, we called it our Catholic Schools of Broome County Day of Giving, Many Gifts, One Purpose. We added the tagline. A good, I think, solid tagline really helps to bring everything together. It will help you with your promotion, any collateral that you put together on social media, your hashtags, things like that. But just really helps kind of pull everything together. So we did the 24-hour giving challenge, and it was all the money was to raise funds for our students and families for tuition assistance. And as I said, it was our first day of giving here for our system. We set the goal of $30,000, and we set it low because obviously we wanted to make sure that we met the goal, and we weren't sure. We did not know what we would actually raise because of our National Day of Giving experiences and stuff. So we wanted to make sure that we met it, and obviously we were very happy at the end of it. So a couple of the fundraising strategies included donor challenges and the use of a phone-a-thon. And the main reason why we wanted to do that standalone campaign is because we had participated in Giving Tuesday, and also we have a National Catholic Schools Week, and they do a Catholic Schools Day of Giving during that week. And for both of those, we only raised around $4,000 to $5,000 on either of those days. So we knew that going on our own and doing it something separate would help us to raise, we hoped, significantly more. Too many of our schools participate in, Catholic Schools Week and are all doing that, participating in that day of giving. So we really want to try to stand out and create some more visibility for ourselves. How we went about choosing the date, met with our foundation and our school boards to kind of talk about it. And we wanted to build off the momentum of Catholic Schools Week, which is in the last week of January, and their giving day, but again, keep away from it and kind of just build on that momentum. We had talked about doing something around either Valentine's Day or St. Patrick's Day, but we have a lot of other events around those. So we need to kind of go somewhere in between there. So that's how we end up with the February 23rd to 24th. And again, we just felt like it was a good time for us because we needed to close a gap in our budget as well because of the pandemic and to help with the tuition assistance. And people were starting to apply for the upcoming year. And that date is good in our institution because people are starting to think about applying for the following year. So with all that in mind, we felt putting the day out to ask for help with tuition assistance, it would already be in their mind. So we secured that date, and again, hoping to create some momentum after Catholic Schools Week. So we started out with, when we started thinking about it, we wanted to get some challenge donors, knowing that bringing in challenge donors is a great way to help promote the day and get you some leverage right off the bat. So in thinking of how to select the donors, I went to some donors that were already engaged with the institution, some prospects that have given to various causes here, but the 3 that I reached out to all give to tuition assistance. Since we knew that's what they would be, where the money was going to, I wanted to reach out to people who I knew were very passionate about tuition assistance. You know, I know there's other ways to go about it as well. You can think of prospects who you're working with, and they may have a specific project that they have in mind. You know, for example, I know we were putting new turf on our field at one point, and there was a prospect who was passionate about that. You could incorporate a challenge just around that. You can incorporate any type of challenge you want into the day of giving. So you could put out there for a certain period of the day, people who want to give to the turf project challenge, you know, and you can have some fun with it. So I think it's selecting people who have a certain passion for anything that, you know, within your institution. So I reached out to these 3 different donors, and when I reached out to them, I didn't know how much money we'd be able to raise, as I mentioned. So I went the route of asking if they would donate, and we would secure a certain amount of donors within a certain time period. Rather than being a match, it would be if we brought in 50 donors from noon to 3, they would donate a certain amount of money. So the first 2 donors agreed, and they did $2,500 if we brought in 50 donors in a 3-hour time period. And then the third donor, he didn't want to go down that road. He didn't want to do that certain amount of donors. He did want it to be a match initially, and then he actually upped it, and he said, if you raise 10,000, I will double it. So that was a great surprise for us. And so he ended up being our big challenge donor. We actually, the Friday before the day of giving was about to happen, I received a phone call from a local business who has, and he's a father of one of our students, and he had gotten one of the emails that I had sent out and announcing and advertising the day of giving, and asked if his organization could be a part of it and could be another challenge donor. Of course, gonna jump on board with that, and updated our social media, updated our webpage, and got them on board as another challenge donor. So I think there's a lot of different ways you can go about it, but you can be as creative as you want to be, and hopefully you can get those challenge donors in there, and they will definitely help you to gain momentum and, you know, again, a unique way to advertise and, you know, frame out your day. For us, it was also, again, a way to help boost and reach and motivate people. Our database is very outdated, and I knew that this was going to be a good way for us to hopefully gain some visibility and update our database. And using those challenge donors, they actually helped us extend our reach because people were excited to hear from them, and they were excited because they want to support those challenge donors. So we got more people involved in the day of giving because they want to support those individuals. So the next part is when you start planning, where do you start? How long in advance do you start? We started about 3 to 5 months in advance, and that's when we secured the donors. So that was from September to December. And then in December, about 3 months in advance, started planning the actual day. And then started creating phone-a-thon scripts for students, writing the communication plan with what to send, when and how, scheduled a lot of the posts and the emails, and worked on scripting and shooting a lot of the videos that we would show leading up to, on the day of, and after the fact. We reached out and interviewed each of our challenge donors and did a video with each of them that we could put out the day of on social media and also post on the website. You know, and I just want to point out, I'm a one-person shop here. It's just myself. And so I reached out to some former colleagues that I worked with in the past and asked them for their help. I knew I had done Days of Giving at my previous institution, and I asked for some scripts that they had from their phone-a-thon, some of their acknowledgement letters, pledge forms, things like that. You know, so I encourage people, you know, you can be a small shop, but still pull off a day like this and ask for help. I used some of those scripts so I didn't have to start from the ground up. So I had some support there, and I know all of us work in this, you know, field together, and people are always willing to help one another out usually. So I encourage that, and it definitely was a big help for me because I didn't have to start, you know, from scratch, like I said. So the next part is the communication and promotion. Put a communication plan together that I would use for the weeks leading up to and after the fact. So began promotions about 2 weeks leading up to the day. Did a lot of social media using Facebook and Twitter, emails to our faculty, staff, parents, to all of our alumni and friends. And we used our database through Razor's Edge, as well as our internal listserv that we have here at the schools. I prepared and scheduled as many of the emails, Facebook posts, and tweets as I could in advance, just so I knew that I didn't have to worry about those, you know, the couple days before or the day of. You know, as many that I could schedule, I did. So as you can see, it sent 4 emails, text messages, 5 Facebook posts, 5 tweets, leading up to the 2 weeks prior to the actual event. On the actual day, kicked off with actually a video from myself to our alumni and to all of our families, just asking them to support the day, how excited we were. And then throughout the day, posted videos from each of our challenge donors. Basically, those went out at the start of their challenge to kick off their challenge. And they were also always live on our website that we created for the day. And it had a little background bio and message from each of the challenge donors. We also put out videos from each of our 4 schools principals, along with the president of our system, basically them just saying thank you for supporting the day, as well as we had a thank you video from our students that went out at the conclusion of the day. We sent texts throughout the day, and then we did a phone-a-thon from 4 to 8 p.m. We had 10 students making phone calls to our alumni, and this was not as successful due to our outdated database. The phone numbers, a lot of the phone numbers were outdated, and we only actually brought in, it was just around between $1,500 and $2,000 were raised through that phone-a-thon. And so this is something we're going to work on for the future. We sent 8 emails and 8 text messages throughout the day, 15 Facebook posts and 14 tweets. And I still don't think that was honestly enough. We could have done more because I've talked with different people and they said they didn't see some of them, or they didn't know even that we were doing this. So obviously it doesn't reach as many people as you think. They're not seeing all of those posts. So I definitely think we could always do more. it's always good to make sure you have follow-up ready and prepared to go. And like I said, I had reached out to a colleague beforehand to get some of these things, so I had them ready. So thank yous and a tax receipt were all sent within 24 to 48 hours. I had the challenge donors already given to the president of our system. So that day, she made phone calls to each of the challenge donors, thanking them. At the conclusion of their challenge, they were all thanked personally by her. And then I had a handwritten note from myself that I sent to them that went in the mail the day after. And then because we did that phone-a-thon, there were pledges made because some people were not comfortable giving with a credit card. So we had a pledge form ready to go. And if they weren't comfortable giving with a credit card over the phone, but said they were willing to give, then a pledge form was sent out in the mail the next day to them. And so we actually only had 7 unfulfilled pledges after that day. And with those people, we sent, using MobileCause, a text message asking them to, thank them for their support and reminded them of their pledge, and provided a link right in the text message where they could fulfill their pledge. And at this point, out of those 7, we still only have 3 that are outstanding, and for $275. And then our actual day of giving results, we raised just over $65,000. Obviously, we went into that with $27,500 in challenge funds, which was obviously a huge help, a huge relief knowing that we had that already going in. But we raised $37,500 in donations. We met all of our challenges. We raised that $10,000 for that major donor in the first hour of the event. We had no way of knowing this was going to happen, but now knowing this, it's going to help us frame our day of giving for next year. We can set the goal a little bit higher. We can now do things a little bit different with our challenges, knowing that people are willing to give and people are actually engaged. So it definitely, the results help us to frame next year's event. And it was about a 50-50 split between alumni and our parent donors. Which was really exciting for us because we really thought that a lot of our donations would mostly come from parents. So it was exciting that we had a lot of alumni participation. And what we learned for moving forward is that, we didn't use the peer-to-peer fundraising. And that's something we absolutely want to do. With having students in the schools, this is a great way for them to do the peer-to-peer fundraising, and they can create their pages, they can get their families involved. So that's something we will definitely be using next year. As I mentioned, communicate more on the day. We thought we were, but we were not. We need to do a lot more of that, put out a lot more posts. But part of that communication on the day is using live streaming on social media. Something that I really would like to be able to do next year is go more on, Facebook Live and show people what's happening throughout the day. We have a learning center here, and I'd like to be able to make that our headquarters next year and have an event page up on a big screen. And, so we're making it more interactive. Show people what's happening, go Facebook Live and, show some of the excitement that's happening and get people more involved that way. So leading up to it, I think we'd like to get more of our board members involved, have more students, and do the phone-a-thon throughout the day. So we can constantly have people checking in and just putting out those updates on social media all throughout the day and into the evening. We'll do more texting, but we're going to create more of a team effort, get more people, like I said, involved. And the biggest thing is updating our database. We are actually working with a company right now to do an oral history project and an update of our database. So we're doing that now, so it'll be complete by the time we do our next phone-a-thon. But overall, it was obviously a very successful day, but a lot of lessons learned, and we're very excited to move forward for our next one. And thank you. I thank you everybody for listening, and I hope everybody was able to get something out of what we've talked about today. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kim, for sharing your expertise with us today. I know these strategies and tools are going to help a lot of nonprofits run their own powerful Day of Giving campaigns. And thank you again to both Lindsay and Kim for sharing your know-how with everyone here. We really hope you're all looking forward to trying out some of these ideas in your own upcoming campaigns. Now, before we go ahead and jump into our Q&A, we do have a quick question for you, and that is, are you interested in learning more? So let me go ahead and launch that poll here. All right, and so yeah, it should be live, and we'll see we get some results coming here. All right, looks like it's slowing down. We'll go ahead and close that poll here. All right, so let's get into our questions and answers. Feel free to put your questions into the chat. We'll try to get to them here. So our first question is for Kim. How do you solicit matching donors and challenge donors?
Okay. As I think I kind of mentioned a little bit, I think it's really finding people that are already interested in what you're doing on that day of giving. So if you have a specific function or specific cause that you're trying to raise funds for, like ours was for tuition assistance, I went through prospects that I work with that I know are very passionate about tuition assistance, and I reached out to them first. But like I said, it could be about anything. We were just doing new turf on our field, and if I want to incorporate that into the day of giving, I would have reached out to those individuals. So I really do. I think it's finding the people that are passionate about the specific cause that you're trying to raise funds for at that time.
All right, great, thank you. So next question here is for Lindsay. How does text to donate work on a day of giving?
Great question. So through MobileCause, you have the ability to make a text to donate keyword, which allows you to market a keyword that people could text in to donate. So that keyword can be marketed in many ways. So that could be included in graphics that you have on social media. So if you made a nice graphic to share a text keyword to 41444 to donate, you can share that on Facebook. Twitter, even Instagram is a great way because Instagram doesn't support shareable links as well. And then you can share that keyword anywhere else online. So if you wanted to include it in your emails or on your campaign page, it really gives people an easy way to text in and get the way to donate to your day of giving directly back onto their phones to give. Now, kind of the other side of that is you do have the opportunity to, through MobileCause, to send outbound text messages. So while text to donate is encouraging people to text in, you can also send outbound text messages to remind people to donate or to give them information about your day of giving and updates and such. So kind of both of those sides there for texting.
All right, great. So this next question is actually going to be for both of you. We'll start with Lindsay here. So Bob asks, he's been told he can communicate too much. We say you can't send too many emails or social posts. So what are your thoughts on sending too much?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think with different types of campaigns and such, and then just generally communicating, we do want to be mindful and wary about the frequency in which we send communications out. For the day of giving, I really believe that is your day to shine, and that is your day to bring as much attention to your organization as possible. So I think what is important is starting that communication early. So it shouldn't be only on the day of people start receiving a bombardment of communications, but this is something that people have on their radars, know is coming. So when the day of giving actually comes, they're not surprised if they see multiple communications from your organization. Now, I think Kim kind of alluded to this too. They may not be seeing all of those as well. So we want to be mindful of that too.
right, thanks.
And
Kim, do you have any addition?
yeah, no, I thought the same thing. I don't think it's a different than it's different than soliciting for your annual fund and communicating that way, or communicating about events that are going on for your institution. It's a specific day that you're communicating about. So I don't think that you can't over communicate on that actual day, because you don't know, people aren't getting every single message that you're putting out. So I don't, you can't compare the two, I guess I would say.
Okay, great. All right, so next one, this is actually for either or both of you here. So the question is, how do you ensure you're not soliciting the same donors or keeping them from giving to another campaign? Any thoughts?
Sure, I don't mind. I actually don't think it matters with the day of giving, I'll be honest. You're not sending a letter to each of these people asking them to specifically give. It's an overall solicitation, so to speak. And so for example, our end of year calendar appeal, went out, November, December, and I still sent emails to all of those people for our day of giving. And many of those people gave again on our day of giving, who had given for our end of calendar year appeal. It's a special day, and there's a lot of energy around it, a lot of momentum, it's excitement. And so people kind of get caught up in that. And so again, a lot of people that had given previously had just gave again. So I don't think you need to stay away from them. I think they want to be a part of it.
Okay, great. Lindsay?
Yeah, I completely agree with Kim. There's a lot of excitement about the day of giving. So if you ask again, there's a possibility people may give again. So I don't think it's something too much to worry about. And then just another point too, thinking about recruiting and really kind of engaging those ambassadors and peer-to-peer fundraisers, you're potentially reaching an even wider or a new audience. So you're really hopefully expanding your reach on that day of giving as well to new donors.
All right, great. So this one is for Kim. The question comes from Tracy. How do you engage older donors on a day of giving if they are not on social media or they don't check email frequently?
That's a good one. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why we did the phone-a-thon, hoping to reach out to more of our older alumni. And unfortunately, as I said, for us, our database just is not where it needs to be. But the phone numbers that are better for us are our older alumni. So that's really how we plan to reach out to them. So that's one of the things I would say is, make sure that you have those numbers. And honestly, those alumni love to hear from the students. They love talking to them. We had students having some great conversations. So if anything, even if they didn't end up giving, it was some great engagement that happened and some great conversations.
Okay, great. Okay, next one here is also for Kim. Do you have what ideas do you have for targeting alumni who are not as responsive as the donor database?
I think it's really working with, obviously this is a social media day. So it's hopefully getting people to look at your social media, getting them involved in that. But I also think it goes back to those challenge donors, and that's why you want to have those challenges, because it's hopefully piquing the interest of your alumni through those challenges. Hopefully they were passionate about something or someone. Maybe they recognize that challenge donor. For example, the one challenge donor we had, most of the people that gave during his challenge were people that he graduated with. He was a alum in the late 60s, and people that gave during that time all pretty much knew him, went to school with him. So, and some of them, we didn't have their contact information. So we gained that by them giving that day. So I think it's really finding those challenges, finding those donors who will help to bring other people in.
Thank you. All right, so for Lindsay, can we text donors with MobileCause if we don't have permission?
Good question. So nonprofits specifically have the unique ability to reach out to people via text. If you've communicated with them in some way and collected their phone number in the past versus a for-profit, which has lots of other different regulations. So as a nonprofit, you do have the unique ability to reach out to any phone numbers from your database. So as long as you've had some communication or some interaction with them in order to receive that phone number, you can send a text message out to them. And the cool thing about our platform is when you upload those phone numbers, it will automatically scrub them to see which ones are mobile ready. So even if you have a database of phone numbers, you can upload them to see how many mobile phone numbers do we have, and then you would be able to use that to then communicate with them moving forward via text.
All right, thank you. All right, so with that, everyone, we've come to the conclusion of our Q&A. Now, before we leave, if you are interested in discovering how MobileCause can help maximize your fundraising efforts, please fill out our post-webinar survey. Thank you again for attending today, and best of luck in running your own successful day of giving. Goodbye, everyone, and see you again soon.